As with all fighting games, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is home to many a character, and with these lovable rascals comes unique strengths, weaknesses, and the capacity to kill off one touch. However, if you know anything about the game, then you'll be aware of certain fighters who dominate the meta, as well as those who sit just below them in terms of strength. Our goal for today, as you would know from the title of the video, is to analyze the high and top tiers of Marvel 3, but before we begin I need to make some things clear. Unlike my low tiers video where I utilized a tier list by American player Mothman, this video is taking many tier lists, as well as my own thoughts as a Marvel player, into consideration. Please keep in mind that removing all forms of bias from competitive discussion is impossible, as players of all skill levels will have their own opinions regarding character tiers. Also, it would take far too long to cover every single quality of these characters, so in the interest of time, I'll be browsing through the important stuff. I'm also getting bits and pieces of information from the game's official guidebook and the Super Combo Wiki website, so a big shout out goes to both of these resources. If you feel that I missed anything, feel free to leave a comment so we can all learn more. With that out of the way, let's begin our journey into the high tiers of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Originating from Okami, Amaterasu, or Ami for short, is the result of a Japanese sun goddess being stuck in a wolf's body. Ami's unique stature allows her to approach the enemy from a variety of angles, as well as cleanly evading certain projectiles, although you almost always see her as a support fighter. That's not to discredit her point capabilities, however, as she has some of the fastest light normals in the game, as well as solo combo extensions. Solar Flare, Thunder Edge, and Devout Beads are 3 stances that Ami can enter at any time, even during combos. The versatile ranges and combo potential leads to countless situations where the opponent has to think twice about attacking, but on the flip side, she can only be in one stance at a time. Quickly deciding when and where to enter certain stances is a crucial component of Ami's game plan, as exclusively using only one will leave a lot of damage on the table. Being tiny also contributes to her success, as I'm sure you can imagine many combos and pressure tools failing to connect against her miniature hurtbox. When combined with a counter, all characters who thrive on close range pressure must exercise patience in neutral, and as a Wolverine player, I can't tell you how many times the counter caught my berserker slashes. Additionally, Ami is a beast in level 3 X Factor, which is why we usually see her as an anchor. Her speed and damage output both increase to a ridiculous extent, with solo infinites entering the fray during this install. When Ami pops this, you better watch out, as even the smallest of strikes can lead to a kill. With that said, Ami's strongest attribute is no doubt her offerings as a support character. Cold Star is a fantastic pressure tool that results in extended block string pressure, mix-ups, okezeme, etc., and her DHC routes are solid too. Okami Shuffle is a full scream super that will catch enemies if they mistime a push block, Veil of Mist slows the enemy down for 5 seconds, and Divine Instruments is a cinematic level 3. At this point, it would be criminal if I didn't mention the infamous Dr. Doom and Ami Shell, as their team super allows Doom to run wild while Ami is covering the screen in flashy visual effects. Outside of these positive qualities, Ami's low damage and hit stun outside of X Factor almost always prevents her from taking out a character. Even when performing a hit confirm from optimal ranges, most cast members will survive her solo combos, as she usually requires DHCs to get the job done. Having to learn the minutiae of stances takes time, meaning Ami isn't the most intuitive fighter. With how much choice you're given within these 3 forms, you can easily confuse yourself into avoiding the most optimal style of play, so learning how to effectively use them is a cornerstone of Ami's game plan. If you don't mind sacrificing health and damage for brilliant support value and comeback potential, Ami might be the perfect fighter for your team. She can easily frustrate any enemy who dares to stand in her way, and if they decide to stay away from you, there's nothing stopping you from slowing them down. As vanilla Street Fighter IV's most popular newcomer, C.Viper leaps into the world of Marvel vs. Capcom as one of its most technical fighters. Like in Street Fighter, C.Viper is all about forcing the enemy into mix-ups, and she has all the tools required to make them panic. Double jump? Check. 8-way air dash? Check. Insane hit confirm potential? Check. A standing low? Check. Unblockables? Check. Yeah, Viper is deadly. Although she's at her best within breathing distance, this doesn't mean she's hopeless when further out, as numerous special moves can cover long range distances and maintain pressure. 2 of her most important tools are EX moves and feints. The former has been lifted from Street Fighter, as they cost 1 bar of meter but enhance a special move, with the latter allowing her to cancel specials. The cancel timing depends on which attack you perform, but what's important is that they allow for extended combos, pressure, and block strings. Covering all of C.Viper's strengths would mean that we would be here for weeks, but a general rule of thumb is that the better your execution is, the more of her toolkit you'll be able to unlock, with virtually any Marlin Pie set from the early 2010s demonstrating just how disturbing her pressure can be when used to perfection. Unlike the characters who specialize in a particular field, C.Viper can do it all, as she is extremely flexible. Even at times where confirming into a full combo would give many characters trouble, Viper can perform this with ease through EX moves. Her DP assist is also an invincible crossover counter that can be feinted to keep her grounded. I'm sure you get the point by now, but you're probably wondering, well, if C.Viper is so good, why doesn't everyone play as her? The answer to that lies in execution, meter usage, and support value, so let's go in order. If you wish to incorporate high-level Viper techniques into your strategy, then I hope you don't mind getting Carpal Tunnel. Okay, jokes aside, she leaves almost no room for error within neutral and combos. Playing online via Parsec isn't perfect either, as depending on your internet and the service condition, potential input delay can mess with your timing. Viper loves to hoard meter for herself, as frequent EX moves and supers can lead to multiple bars being spent in a solo combo. The cherry on top of the Marvel sundae is that none of her attacks quickly generate large amounts of meter, so I hope resource management is one of your strong suits. Finally, with the exception of the aforementioned crossover counter, none of her assists or DHC routes are amazing. Burning Kick is an overhead that can result in mix-ups or unblockables, but its range is limited, as well as leaving Viper open for punishment. Her supers are unsafe too, as they can all be punished if blocked. They're far from being horrible, but when used on the defense, the gaps in their armor will be made apparent. Similar to Ami, if you're okay with finger-breaking execution and high meter usage, C.Viper can strike fear into the hearts of any opponent from anywhere on the screen, so get out there and make them eat a mix-up. Dante is one of those fighters that really needs no introduction, as his style-switching shenanigans have been made famous through the iconic Devil May Cry series. Boasting the highest number of special moves in series history, he's one of Marvel 3's more technical characters, as optimal play requires you to pull out the right move at the perfect time. In layman's terms, Dante is the ultimate jack-of-all-trades, master of none, as while he does have every single tool a character could ever ask for, including a reliable TAC infinite by the way, there are definite weaknesses that prevent him from being S-tier. Firstly, Dante's support value is through the roof. Jam Session is one of the best assists in the game, $1 million and Devil Must Die are consistent DHC tools, and Devil Trigger can be used for safety, as well as granting him 3 new special moves, a damage buff, and extra mobility options. The range of his attacks is great too, as he can use disjoint to normals to keep enemies at bay. Speaking of which, Hysteric, Crystal, and Drive come to my mind as mid to long range specials, with Reverb Shock, Acid Rain, the Hammer, and Twister being solid close range options. Acid Rain is particularly useful because it allows for mix-ups from anywhere on the screen, so make sure to use it whenever you get the chance. Other specials like Revolver, Jetstream, and Multi-Lock aren't used very often, but they have specific uses that allow them to shine, ensuring that Dante can threaten many characters from multiple angles. He has 1,000,001 combo extensions, with wall bounces, ground bounces, hard knockdowns, OTGs, etc. all playing large parts within his combos. He can also use bold cancels, a technique where you cancel pre-jump frames into a special move after Stinger to extend combos and remain advantageous, which adds an extra layer of depth to his game plan. When you take his teleport, incoming setups, box dash pressure, and general X-Factor buffs into consideration, Dante is a supreme combatant. Going back to his combos for a moment, the number of hits leads to severe damage scaling, especially if you optimize them for meter gain. By the way, Devil Trigger prevents him from building meter, so I hope you didn't use your last bar to activate it. When attacking a full health character, Dante will almost always have to rely on his partners to get the kill, so if he's by himself with no X-Factor or no assists, he's kind of out of luck. His normals are on the slower side, with the fastest having 8 startup frames. Their range more than makes up for this in neutral, but in defensive situations they can easily get you counter hit. Unlike the characters that he's usually paired with, Dante's throw confirms are quite bad, as although they lead to combos, their damage scaling kicks in immediately. As a Dante player myself, he's one of the most fun characters I've ever used in any fighting game. It can be quite tricky to memorize when and where to use his mind-boggling number of attacks when you're starting out, but once you pass that initial barrier, he's absolutely mind-blowing. Oh yeah! Deadpool makes perfect sense for a fighting game, and if you're a fan of everyone's favorite mercenary, there's an infinite amount of fanservice to sink your teeth into. Much like his personality, Deadpool's game plan is designed to be annoying to deal with, as he can use guns, grenades, shurikens, and bowlers to cover angles that many characters need to occupy. At worst, he'll be killing them through 1,000 paper cuts via chip damage, and at best, he'll use these tools to confirm stray hits into full combos. With that said, his primary goal is to keep the enemy at full screen distance and prevent them from approaching. Aside from zoning, Deadpool can teleport to instantly gain ground. Transitioning from long-range gunshots into immediate close-range pressure is akin to a jump scare, and it forces the enemy to watch out for high-low mix-ups from full screen. If they decide to wait things out and just take the chip damage, you can shoot, teleport, and throw them, leading to a combo. Quick Work is a low special used for confirming into supers, and its assist variant can be used to catch enemies who aren't watching their legs. On hit, its mini launch guarantees a combo starter, making it great for pressure sequences and unblockables. If you need a combo extender, Heavy Katana Rama into Chimichangas is an OTG followed by a wall bounce, with this sequence being extremely common. His DHC routes can work wonders with Happy Happy Trigger functioning as a consistent horizontal super, and cutting time allows for incoming mix-ups if it kills. Before I forget, his standing jab is fast, confirms into itself and works as an anti-air, Mad Wheel is an overhead that leads to a knockdown, and Quick Work can be used for incoming pressure, so make a good use of these tools. Unfortunately, Deadpool's low damage and hit stun result in his solo combos being far from perfect, and if you've already used a ground or wall bounce, his extension tools will fail to work. Outside of Quick Work, Katana Rama is a standard OTG assist that uses a ground bounce, and Trigger Happy provides no grounded coverage. I suppose you could use it for guard break setups, but this would never work against an experienced enemy. His aforementioned teleport can only be used twice before it explodes, forcing Deadpool into a hard knockdown state. He can cancel the animation with an air super, but as this deals self-inflicted damage and isn't safe, you need to be very careful. His level 3 super takes the form of a counter that results in a combo, but any opponent can use X Factor or a safe super to cancel their attack beforehand. However, if you can make it work, then it's one of the most awesome supers to land, but realistically speaking, you're probably better off saving your meter. If all you want is to frustrate others with zoning tools, then Deadpool is exactly who you're looking for. He works best as a point character who loves to run and double jump away from round start, and if you have X Factor level 3, there are infinites just waiting to be executed. Plus, he can cancel his taunt into supers, so what's not to love? Dormammu is one of Doctor Strange's deadliest villains, and with a unique playstyle focused on spellcasting, he can demolish any team with ease. Instead of wanting to stay up close and win the ground war, Dormammu prefers to hang back and neutralize any threats with various long-range attacks. Many of his normals have the ability to destroy projectiles, allowing him to put his own ones on the screen. He may be a big guy, but with the power of flight, teleports, and a deep cross-up, he can quickly shred through defensive playstyles. Dark Matter, Flame Carpet, Dark Hole, Purification, and Liberation are extensively used in both combos and neutral, as they can lead to wall bounces, chip damage setups, screen coverage, and whatever else you can think of. Liberation is particularly interesting as it depends on the number of spells Dormammu has equipped. There are 9 of these to take advantage of, with the most useful being Meteor Shower, Return to Dust, and Inferno. Carefully deciding when and where to summon these spells is the hallmark of a strong Dormammu player, and if everything goes your way, his damage output is ridiculous. Even the most basic of combos will do satisfying damage, and it only gets better with specific spells and assists to back you up. It's not rare to see an entire life bar be destroyed by one Dormammu combo, especially if he ends with a super. Chaotic Flame is a full-screen fireball that is amazing for ending combos, sniping assists, and as a DHC tool. Stalking Flare is a massive homing fireball that only disappears if either the enemy or Dormammu is hit, and Dark Dimension is a level 3 that can link into Chaotic Flame. There are so many advanced techniques relating to these supers that I just don't have the time to discuss, but if you want to see some truly dirty setups, check out how Dormammu players utilize Stalking Flare on incoming, it's wild. However, if Dormammu is stuck in a defensive position where he has to outmaneuver his enemy, it's not easy to do so, mostly due to his size. His ground movement sucks too, as his dashes can't be cancelled into attacks. Even if he could cancel them, the attacks he has to work with on the ground are slow and usually result in a counter hit when spaced incorrectly. This means opponents who understand the matchup will know ahead of time that he'll mostly be occupying airspace, leaving him open to air throws and screen-filling supers. His assists aren't the best either, as they have noticeable startup and range issues. Liberation is arguably the most versatile assist in the whole series, as it comes in multiple forms depending on your spells, but this requires manual setup and can often fail, so you never see it in high-level play. Although I've never mained him, Dormammu has always been one of my favourite characters to casually play as. Using assists to create space for spells never gets old, and his huge combos are some of the most enjoyable in the game. All sorts of shenanigans take place when Dormammu shows up to the party, so make sure not to call an assist at a bad time. If you've ever seen even a second of Marvel 3 before, then you're definitely familiar with Dr. Doom, and for good reason, he's awesome. Super Combo Wiki states that Doom has the strongest support value in the game, which I wholeheartedly agree with. His assists, supers, DHC routes, comeback potential, etc. are all terrifying, and they each do a brilliant job of enabling his allies. When on the field himself, Dr. Doom can meaningfully do battle from anywhere on the screen. When using assists for cover, he can use Plasma Beam, Molecular Shield, Hidden Missiles, Butter Gun, or Photon Shot to cover grounded and aerial space, and when up close, he can use an 8-way air dash to supplement high-low mix-ups and throw pressure. All of this means that Doom is a threat from any distance or angle you can think of, even more so when he pops X Factor. Although every character in the game can OTG by themselves, some of them have very poor offerings, but not Doom. Standing Medium, Heavy, and Air Plasma Beam lead to combo extensions and finishes respectively, meaning Doom can confirm any hard knockdown you can think of. Even if he lands a throw, there's nothing stopping him from moving over for a full combo. On the topic of combos, they all possess great damage and meter gain. It doesn't matter if you're doing a basic route or one that's far more optimized, because you will most likely get the kill via a DHC or level 3. Not many of these in the game can reach enemies who are at super jump height, but Sphere Flame laughs in the face of this concept, and if you need a powerful combo ender, do his level 3. Doom's hit confirms are mental, as he can cleanly route into combos from all sorts of attacks, and it's about now that I should mention the infamous foot dive. The heavy version travels forwards and keeps the enemy standing, whereas the launcher version leads to a hard knockdown. If the enemy is crouching, this will most likely cross them up and hit from a confusing angle, with even the strongest of players getting hit by this attack. It works multiple times per combo and is fantastic at catching opponents who are just below you. Even with all of these strengths, there are a few matchups where Doom just kind of dies, and it's all because of how badly he struggles against zoning. If a fighter can cover aerial space from a distance, then they shouldn't have too much of a problem keeping Doom away. In the same vein as Dormammu, Doom's ground mobility isn't the best, and without a teleport, he has to manually make his way across the screen to catch zoners. With the exception of level 3, none of his attacks have invincibility frames, making reversals nearly impossible, and what it all boils down to is that any Marvel player with at least some competitive experience will be familiar with fighting Doom. He's been such a prevalent character for the past 15 years that everyone has a deep understanding of not only his game plan, but how he decides to accomplish it. Despite this, there's a reason why Doom is so popular, and it's because of just how effective he is at all levels of play. If you ever need a solid support character and aren't already playing as Doom, you should definitely test him out and see how his assists synergize with your other fighters. The evil demon Firebrand just wasn't satisfied with terrorizing Arthur in Ghosts and Goblins, so now he's come to the world of Marvel vs. Capcom to continue being a nuisance. Like with Ami, Firebrand isn't immediately straightforward. His low combo damage and stubby normals limit his usage in beginner to intermediate level play, but if you ever come up against a character specialist who has dedicated countless hours to mastering his mix-ups, resets, and mobility tricks, then you might be done for, as this is what he's all about. Adding on to this, Firebrand can use Hell's Elevator and Hell Dive to swiftly cover distance, with unpredictable movement serving as one of his greatest strengths. With his Bon Voyage hit grab, full combo routes can begin from anywhere on the screen, and it's even possible to consistently confirm into a heart tag this way. The sliding animation removes Firebrand's hurtbox, so you can even use the move to avoid assists. When further out, Firebrand can repeat his wall cling into fireballs for zoning pressure, and when using assists, slower characters can fail to keep up. Darkfire is a high damage super that hits OTG and can also be done in the air, Luminous Body is an install that results in a 25% speed buff, and Chaos Tide is a level 3 that summons a friend. He's totally invincible by the way, so if you're going to activate this move, make good use of his attacks. This is all well and good, but Demon Missile is definitely what you'll know Firebrand for. Normally, the 3 versions cause Firebrand to advance forward, with the light version even being plus on block, but heavy is where things get really crazy. By charging this attack all the way, it becomes fully unblockable, meaning if you time it right against an enemy's incoming, there's nothing they can do. In theory, you can loop this over and over again to make it impossible for the opponent to win, with players like Apology Man and Zach Bennett demonstrating how lethal this strategy can be. It's not perfect though, as it relies on Firebrand winning neutral and landing a precise combo. When he isn't dictating the match's pace, it's Struggle City, as he doesn't have true reversals to force the enemy away. His damage output is also nothing short of disappointing, as enemies will have an easy time surviving his solo combos. Personally, I don't see this as a flaw per se, as his mobility and unblockable potential is truly what allows him to shine, but having below average damage during times when you need to conserve meter isn't helping matters. Firebrand also isn't a team player, as none of his assists carry any special properties, and he needs the entire team to be built around him. If your Firebrand team doesn't have any ways to extend combos or guarantee unblockable setups, then you might as well select another character. Lord knows I don't have the execution or patience to ever play Firebrand properly, but he's always a joy to watch. Seeing an entire team be wiped out by a 3-foot-tall demon who speaks in gibberish is something that can only be found in Marvel vs. Capcom, and it just wouldn't be the same without him. With the bragging rights of always being a top tier, Magneto's depiction in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is no different, as he's one of the scariest fighters to come up against. With how many players have demonstrated his offensive and defensive options over the game's lifespan, there really is no quote-unquote correct way to play Magneto. He can kind of do anything he wants, and will easily land numerous touch of deaths along the way. Magneto's greatest strength is arguable, but in my opinion, it's definitely his mobility. A lightning-fast 8-way air dash and flight means the Master of Magnetism can shoot across the screen in the blink of an eye, which is perfect for evasion and aggression. If he manages to lock you in place, you're at the mercy of a high-low 50-50, and with how fast his normals are, even the slightest of mistakes can have huge ramifications. If he decides to play a zoning game, a near-instant electromagnetic disruptor or magnetic blast can force enemies to stay away, with the latter additionally serving to cover his aerial advancements. Unlike his friend C.Viper, Magneto loves to build meter but is hesitant to spend it, as aside from using his level 3 to end combos, you generally see solo routes using 1 bar or even no bars of meter. It's not like Magneto never uses resources, but he's a supporter of the sharing is caring movement. His support value is great too, with a strong beam assist and various DHC options that cover unique angles. Magnetic Shockwave travels full screen and hits OTG, Magnetic Tempest functions like a shotgun where the closer you are the more damage it does, and Gravity Squeeze is a full screen OTG that ends in a hard knockdown. Seriously, you can be this far away and still have it connect, it's crazy. Despite their scaling, I love how all of his throws keep the enemy standing. This allows for full combos and makes his throw pressure among the best in the roster. It's not all amazing however, as for tradition's sake, Magneto has low health. The average character will be able to take him out via a DHC, so a simple slip-up can result in his downfall. He has no OTG options outside of Magnetic Shockwave, meaning X-Factor or a DHC are required to continue combos. If the enemy blocks one of his normals, there aren't many safe cancel options to take advantage of, as all his specials are unsafe and Flight has 15 startup frames. This leads to an over-reliance on assists for safety, which experienced opponents will find predictable. Execution is also a hurdle that Magneto players must jump over, as his high damage routes and most optimal neutral techniques aren't immediately available to beginner or even intermediate players. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but if you haven't adjusted to the input lag differences between PS4 and PC Marvel, or you're playing online via Parsec, this can screw you over. Weaknesses aside, Magneto is undeniably one of Marvel 3's strongest characters, and if you have the technical skill to make him work on your team, I urge you to try him out. His toolkit is expertly designed for player expression, and I genuinely think he's one of the most well thought out characters in any fighting game. It's easy to look at MODOK and think that he'd be nothing more than a silly joke character, but with how ferocious he can be, this line of thinking couldn't be further from the truth. Among the more unorthodox of Marvel 3's roster, MODOK's game plan isn't immediately obvious. Hell, he can't even jump normally, as pressing or holding up results in a hover. Diving deep into his move list reveals a nearly impregnable keep-out game, as not only can he cover a variety of angles, but he can quickly crank up the heat at the push of a button. For the most part, MODOK's 8-way air dash and suite of long-range strikes will form a sizable portion of his strategy, and he can even place a barrier on screen to absorb attacks. Analyze Cube and Balloon Bomb cover angles that many characters wish to travel through when attempting to approach, providing MODOK the ability to control neutral. Also, any fighter without consistent methods of attacking enemies at super jump heights will crumble when he decides to hold up and fly away. As this isn't a super jump, MODOK can freely call assists from this distance, and once he automatically descends, you can manually enter flight to stay up here even longer. He gets even harder to deal with when using cubes to power up, as they impact the damage, speed, and attack properties of certain attacks, as well as providing new ones. With at least one cube in storage, you can perform Psionic High Blast, Big Barrier, and Jamming Bomb. This final move is among the most frightening in the game, as it reverses the opponent's controls. A common strategy is to route into Jamming Bomb and then snap the character out. Their controls will still be reversed the next time they come in, and it's entirely possible for the other player to forget that their inputs are messed up. As with the other fighters we've covered so far, MODOK's support value is pretty good, as all three of his assists can be effectively used depending on your team, with his supers serving a similar purpose. All versions of Hypersonic Blaster end in a hard knockdown, with the number of cubes you have increasing its damage. Without any cubes, it does next to nothing, but when you've got them all, it does more damage than some level 3s. Hyper Battering Ram can freely be steered in any direction, including in such a way that allows for the super to loop into itself. Killer Illumination is a high damage command grab that can be used to beat out incoming supers, and the animation allows time for combo extensions. All of this sounds incredible, but it takes expert execution to consistently pull off, much like Magneto or Firebrand. Dealing with lag, nerves, or any issue that impacts your ability to play will negatively impact MODOK's strategy, especially if you're forced on the defensive. While not very tall, MODOK is a wide guy, and I believe his only true reversal is the command grab, which by the way can be jumped out of after the super cutscene. Specific normals tend to whiff on opponents who are low to the ground, and as his only lows have at least 10 startup frames, it's better to block high against his overhead pressure. Failing to connect with cubes prevents jamming bomb setups, high damage projectile super routes, and the enhanced specials, so he needs to secure a hit with these. If I had more time, I would tell you about his solo OTG routes, unblockable setups, cracked damage output, and how technical he can be, often to an inhuman level, so if you would like to learn more, I would suggest you look up high-level MODOK play on YouTube. His strengths are unbelievable, and unlike anything I've seen in other fighting games. In a game with 50 characters, it takes quite the special fighter to be considered by many as the absolute best, with Morrigan fitting the bill perfectly. As potentially the strongest zoner in any Capcom vs game, Morrigan has been dominating high-level competition since the dawn of time, and thankfully her strategy is simple as can be. Score a knockdown, activate Astral Vision, and then cover the screen with fireballs until you win. With the exception of her basic combos doing little damage, her only OTG being a super, and her high execution requirements, literally everything else about her is enormously strong. She builds meter extremely quickly, even in Astral Vision, her mix-ups are almost unseeable, there are 4 types of dashes for her to capitalize on, she can cancel any normal or special attack into flight, and going out of flight only takes 1 frame, meaning she's safe a vast majority of the time. She has a standing low, her crouching light can be mashed as a 4-frame reversal, her DP super is an invincible reversal, her jumping launcher is an overhead that hits 3 times and starts grounded combos, she can use a special fireball to steal meter on hit, allowing for anti-Dark Phoenix tech, finishing shower is a useful air combo ender, and you can even continue the combo when in the corner. Her level 3 travels nearly full screen and has 0 startup frames after the cutscene, and by the way, she can link into a level 1 after this finishes, because of course she can. Her meter building assist is objectively the best in the game for its quick startup and recovery, and her launcher is disjointed. You can find players from all around the world demolishing the competition with Morrigan, as her zoning potential shuts down more fighters than I have the time to mention. If there's ever a museum dedicated to the most busted fighting game characters who have put the fear of God into their enemies, Morrigan needs to have a massive statue at the front entrance. Like, dude, she even has her own billboard. Taxpayer dollars were spent for this, that's how strong she is. The Human Rocket himself is here to grace the world of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and to this day, Nova is extremely common in high-level play. He's similar to Magneto in that they both have the capacity to remain threatening from anywhere on the screen, although our orange friend is slower overall. Instead of a traditional full-screen beam, he covers space with special types of projectiles, but Nova really shines when remaining up close and personal. Keeping up with the mobility trend, an 8-way air dash and flight can be found within Nova's toolkit, although his dash has noticeable startup, preventing him from plink dashing in the air. His normals do high base damage and can easily chain into combo routes from a multitude of ranges, with crouching medium being the star of the show. This hits low, travels nearly half screen, and is a fantastic hit confirm tool. After you secure a knockdown, Nova Slam and Light Centurion Rush are your go-to OTG options, as both lead to combo extensions and supers. The most consistent way to score a knockdown is to make contact with any of Nova's throws, and this is what he's known for the most. His throw range is ridiculous, and even when they get tossed away to full screen, picking them up is only a DP motion away. Along with his wall bounce, ground bounce, crumple, mix-up, and overhead tools, Nova has supreme combo potential in any given situation, even without assists. When in neutral, Heavy Gravimetric Pulse shoots out a barrier that prevents enemies from approaching, and this move can even be done in the air. Interestingly, Nova's red life impacts the attack's potency, with there being 2 extra forms it can take depending on how much potential health you sacrifice. Gravimetric Blaster follows the same logic, with the beam becoming stronger by using red life. The super is an amazing combo ender, DHC tool, or even neutral tool for punishing assist calls. Supernova is a close range attack that's all about the damage, and it's a reliable way of catching enemies who are in the air. If you DHC early, the enemy is forced into a hard knockdown, leading to combo extensions. Human Rocket involves Nova flying around the screen with reckless abandon, and you can choose which direction he goes in. Its use is twofold, as not only can you use it to remain safe on block, but also as a combo starter. However, Nova's overall damage output isn't the strongest, as he's dependent on DHCs or X Factor to defeat a character. This is due to heavy damage scaling, so you'll almost always need at least 2 bars of meter for a Nova kill. He also lacks true reversals, as there are no fast or even slow invincible moves in his repertoire. If Nova is on the receiving end of a mix-up and can't Human Rocket out, he doesn't have a get out of jail free card, and with under 1 million health, it's not uncommon for him to be destroyed in a single combo. Nova's strengths definitely outweigh the weaknesses, with players like Coach Steve and Liberal Terminator proving how monstrous he can be when paired up with the right team. If you're okay with using lots of meter and want to fly around like a madman, then you should absolutely give Nova a shot. If you ever want to make a Marvel player suffer from PTSD, then you should whisper the phrase Dark Phoenix into their ear. As Jean Grey has the lowest health value out of any character, her game plan is extremely simple. Put her last, build 5 bars of meter, and then enjoy the arrival of Dark Phoenix with level 3 X Factor. This is arguably the most distinctive strategy in the entirety of Marvel 3, and like with a fair few of the other characters we've covered so far, Phoenix is still actively being used by the pros. Like before, and say it with me now, Phoenix has an 8-way air dash and flight, but she also has teleports too. This allows her to run away after being snapped in, and ensures that she always has a fighting chance of survival. When combined with projectile traps, she can force opponents to deal with incoming mix-ups that can lead to extensive combo routes. When confirming into a combo, Phoenix can use a speedy low that chains into itself, a ground bounce for solo extensions, an air fireball for solo OTGs, and a standing overhead that easily links into her heavy normals. Her assists aren't bad either, but when in neutral they must be called with extreme caution, as if she gets sniped even once, it's all over. Phoenix Rage is a reversal super that's used for safe DHCs, combo enders, and to knock the enemy away. Healing Field leeches health away from the enemy when they're inside of the giant sphere, and Dark Phoenix is probably the best install I've ever seen in a fighting game. Aside from her draining health bar, which by the way can be negated with Healing Field or X Factor, this activation has a boatload of upgraded properties and will quickly blitz through them. All normals shoot out feathers which occupy screen space and do extra damage, a flat 20% damage and 20% meter gain buff are applied, her specials are larger and have new properties, and her damage scaling isn't as severe. When combined with a level 3 X Factor, every single hit will lead to an almost instant touch of death. On the flip side, Phoenix's low health means that any mistake will result in death. Even if you slightly mistime one normal or have a minor execution error in a combo, any character will be able to dispatch her with ease. Phoenix also demands the entire team to be built around her meter dependence, meaning that you'll sometimes have to refrain from using resources when taking long-term strategies into account. Also, it's entirely possible for many fighters to punish her for turning dark, forcing her into a checkmate situation. With how common Jean Grey has been over the past 15 years, any experienced player will be familiar with her matchup, so try not to get caught. For those looking for a dominating anchor who can and will mount unbelievable comebacks, Phoenix is the girl for you. The logical part of my brain is telling you to try her out because she's stupid good, but the fearful part of my brain is saying no, don't do it, I don't want to fight against Phoenix anymore. Ever since the 1980s, Spencer has been using his bionic arm to fight against those foolish enough to stand in his way, and his Marvel 3 depiction is no different. Overwhelming pressure is Spencer's greatest asset, as he has no shortage of tools to keep the enemy docile. I've always viewed him as one of the game's scariest fighters, as touch of death combos are usually the result of him landing one hit or throw in neutral. His bionic arm isn't just for show, as he can use it for an 8-way zip anywhere on the screen. This allows him to approach, retreat, or maintain aggression when at mid-range, and it can be challenging to punish when covered with an assist. One of the most obvious strengths that Spencer brings to the table is his world-class damage output, made famous by the iconic 80k loops. When he pulls you in with his arm, he can follow up with a punch that ignores damage scaling, always doing at least 80,000 damage. In a vacuum, this is pretty good, but there are combo routes that involve repeated use of this strike. His combo damage is already next level, but if you can master this technique, it'll become even greater. Spencer has a standing overhead that can link into Armor Piercer for a wall bounce, and it's a good idea to supplement this with a Team Super for resets. By using a forward zip from full screen, he can demonstrate his best-in-class incoming pressure, and if you instinctively push block, he can guard break you with a command grab. His standing light is a rapid-fire jab that is used as a consistent anti-air combo starter, and slant shot is a useful assist for combo routes. But it wouldn't be right if we didn't discuss Spencer's supers, with Bionic Lancer being the mother of all reversals. It starts up in 4 frames, is invincible on startup, is great at catching assist calls, and it starts solo combos. You can even X-Factor cancel into Bionic Bomber for a high damage starter. I've always thought that if Spencer has 1 bar of meter, he instantly controls neutral, as this move will shut down most attacks. Bionic Maneuvers is his other super, and even though it does over 300,000 damage, you can still begin a combo after it connects. This leads to Spencer having the ability to include multiple supers in one route, which I've been on the receiving end of many times. Be that as it may, Spencer's aerial mobility isn't the greatest as he lacks an air dash, flight or teleports, and his zips can be punished on reaction. His support value is also fairly lackluster, as he doesn't have any safety HC options or universal assists. Slant shot is solid in combos, but it leaves him open in neutral, and many characters will simply remain under it. He also lacks traditional projectiles, forcing him to be up close to secure damage. Along with Dr. Doom, Spencer comes to mind as one of the greatest middle characters to have on your team. Watch any Nova Spencer Doom player to see just how terrifying his offense can be when the ball gets rolling, and oh boy, will it get rolling quickly. If you get tapped once, you're as good as dead, so I hope you know how to block his incoming mix-ups. After being absent from vanilla Marvel 3, Strider Hiryu makes his grand return in Ultimate, and with his cool ninja scarf comes some of the scariest X-Factor pressure imaginable. Strider is all about using speed and mobility tricks to force the enemy to deal with mix-ups and resets, and despite his stylish combos, he's traditionally chosen as an anchor. This is due to Ouroboros, a level 3 super that shoots out projectiles at the press of a button. With level 3 X-Factor and a wall cling, Strider can blow through the most defensive of opponents by making their life bars disappear in the blink of an eye. Even without this super, X-Factor boosts his damage and speed to a degree where it's hard to make out exactly what he's doing, let alone defend properly. When in the back, Vajra is a strong assist as it reaches enemies who are at super jump height and forces them into a hard knockdown. If your point character has reliable OTGs, this will be a guaranteed combo starter, and if they can teleport or move quickly underneath them, it's going to be a good reset tool. Strider's formation specials provide screen coverage and OTGs, helping him to meaningfully do battle when further away. You can also use them to begin mix-ups when combined with teleports or wall cling. Additionally, Graham is a wall-bound strike with shocking range on the heavy version, Excalibur is an aerial tool that is used for hit confirms, and Amino Murakamo combines forward movement with a ground bounce. Ragnarok is a second level 3 with 20 invincible frames and high damage, making Strider the only character in the game to have 2 level 3 supers. This all sounds like Strider would be on top of the world, but without X Factor he kind of sucks. Even the most optimal of combos will do pathetic to mediocre damage, and his Legion super is one of the most unreliable I've ever seen. This is a full screen OTG, which sounds brilliant, but you physically have to wait for the animals to make their way to the corner. During this waiting period, the enemy can recover from a knockdown and block the incoming onslaught with no issues. This is dependent on spacing of course, but it's not helping things. Vajra, for as good as it is in theory, can be beaten out by launches. The punish timing isn't hard to grasp either, and it's pretty easy for every character in the game to do this. Making matters worse is that Strider has extremely low health, with a single combo being all it takes to take him out. This leads to him being a highly committal anchor, and even if you do manage to activate X Factor and use Ouroboros, there's no invincibility, so he can lose 3 bars of meter for even trying to use it. Even with all of these shortcomings, Strider's support value and comeback potential is still strong enough for many players to proudly feature him on their teams. Attempting to fight back without resources is a horrible struggle, but when the stars align and the pressure gets going, he feels unstoppable. If you thought Dante was strong, get ready for his twin brother Vergil, as he's almost universally agreed upon as the 3rd strongest fighter in the game. Specializing in ground combat, Vergil makes extensive use of his disjointed normals to destroy projectiles and begin combos. With 2 install supers that improve his damage output, mobility, and combo routes, he's quite the deadly character, one that could work well in any position on your team. To be more specific about his normals, standing heavy, crouching heavy, and launcher hit from a football field away, and they all lead to touch of deaths with proper routing and meter usage. Crouching heavy even hits low and results in a mini launch, allowing Lunar Phase to connect for a ground bounce. If this has already been used, it turns into a hard knockdown. Helmbreaker is well known within the Marvel community as the great equalizer for its comeback potential. I've even won countless games that I had no right winning because I panicked and just got lucky when I threw the move out. High Time is an OTG that can be cancelled into Dimension Slash or X Factor, and it goes hand in hand with Helmbreaker. Even when not using these attacks, his damage output is crazy, as he has access to so many types of combos through Spiral Swords. Yep, this move is as good as it looks, even more so when you perform his famous sword loops. Basically, you can loop this super until you run out of meter, but at that point the opponent's character will have been defeated. Devil Trigger makes this, as well as literally everything else in his disposal, even stronger, including the hitboxes on his special moves. They experience a significant size increase, boosting chip damage and their general attack radius. Most players use Vergil as their anchor, myself included, and we mostly select Rapid Slash as our assist. This covers horizontal ground, hits multiple times, and is a consistent combo extender. Round Trip is arguably his strongest attack as it tracks to his current position, and you know what that means: get the kill, throw the sword, and teleport on the ground or in the air for a mix-up. Dashing under them and pressing launcher is a cheap cross-up too, and all this plays into his comeback potential. When activating X Factor level 3, Vergil's damage is wince-inducing as he can take out every character in mere seconds. There's even a glitch you can do to maintain the round trip charge after you throw it out, but with X Factor speed and damage this great, you won't need it when mounting a comeback. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention his level 3 super, Dark Angel. This can only be activated in Devil Trigger, but it has long range, hits OTG, forces a crumple state, and begins combos. Even if your hitstun decay is nearly maxed out, you can still combo into another super afterwards. I can't stress enough how scary it is to deal with a fully powered up Vergil, but what about when he has no resources? In that case, he's not that threatening, honestly. Without a double jump, flight, or aerial teleports, Vergil lacks ways to escape incoming pressure outside of risking a Helmbreaker or air super. If he cleanly avoids a mix-up and initiates a neutral-focused game, the lack of meter and X Factor will significantly lessen his damage output and mobility. In this situation, you can treat him like any other fighter, and if the Vergil player gets impatient and teleports in, you can punish with ease. With a total of 850k health, many characters can eliminate him with their DHC routes, just to make matters worse. While he's never been considered the strongest character in Marvel 3, Vergil works wonders in just about all levels of play, and if you ever need a Son of Sparta who comfortably fits in any position, look no further than the Man in Blue. For the past 8 years, I've been using Wolverine as the point character on my team, and he's easily my favourite character to play as. When it comes to strategy, you want to, nay have to, stay as close to the enemy as possible. From Children of the Atom to Marvel 3, Wolverine has always been an extremely high-octane rushdown fighter with explosive damage. Forcing the enemy into block stun with an assist and using a 50-50 to begin a combo is as Wolverine as it gets, and when you land the hit, it feels incredible. For starters, even the simplest of combos will do satisfying damage. Without any optimizations, you can build a bar of meter and then use it for a super ender from anywhere on the screen, leading to all sorts of DHC routes. His normals are fast enough to be useful for continuous pressure, as well as his dive kick. On hit, you can link into a combo against a standing opponent, whereas an airborne one will ground bounce. By holding down forward or down back as you input the attack, you can option select a throw, and a slide into assist as a reliable combo starter. This technique is crucial to learn. Jumping light is an instant overhead that can be combined with crouching light for a high-low mix-up, and standing heavy is one of my favorites. It does high damage, moves Wolverine forward, and has a hitbox wide enough to catch enemies out of the air. Drill Claw is another important move, as it allows Wolverine to link an attack into dive kick. You can steer it in one of 8 directions, and it's great to throw off the enemy's timing by staying in the air for longer than they would expect. Berserker Slash is Wolverine's classic side switch, and it becomes even deadlier when used within assist pressure. On hit, you can cancel it into Berserker Charge to perform a combo that normally doesn't work, and on block, its 4 startup frames allow you to remain safe. Making Wolverine even faster is the stuff of nightmares, most notably in X Factor, so you'll be seeing this often. His ground dash does a good job of quickly gaining ground, and if you can make it safe with assists, Berserker Slash isn't a bad movement tool either. When battling characters who don't have the tools to keep Wolverine away, it's party time, but if he has to fight a zoner or keep away fighter, the battle becomes much trickier. There are 0 tools in his arsenal to repel zoning strategies, and even if he gets the hit, he's dependent on assists or X Factor usage to continue combos. His only OTG is a slide, and while this is good to go under certain projectiles, he needs outside assistance for hard-hitting confirms. His support value is also pretty lackluster, as all 3 of his assists are passable at best, and his DHC options are just okay. They're not bad, mind you, but there's nothing mind-blowing about Berserker Barrage X or Fatal Claw outside of damage. Wave or plink dashing is also a no-go, as if you press an attack button too quickly, he'll start performing Berserker Rage. This glues him to the ground and leaves him open for punishment, so if you're the type of player who mashes while under pressure, this move is specifically designed to mess with you. Also, Berserker Slash can have its side switch negated through push blocks, and you can even grab Wolverine out of the initial run animation. I'm sure that I could write a whole thesis about Wolverine's offerings if I had the time, but for the purpose of this video, I'll say that his effective game plan is solely why he's my point character. There's nothing like dropping a combo on purpose to go for a grab reset, or performing a nearly unreactable mix-up in X Factor, dude. It's so much fun. Our final character is none other than Zero, the destroyer of neutral. Every Marvel tournament will have at least a few Zero players in their brackets, and for good reason. He's insanely strong. There's nothing stopping Zero from controlling the match's pace with projectiles, multi-hitting normals, slippery command dashes, and solo combo extenders to kill off one touch, with assist usage making these strategies even stronger. This means that no matter what style of player you are, Zero's multifaceted move list ensures that he can be a menace from any screen position. By holding down an attack button, Zero's hand will begin to glow, and this corresponds to his buster. Depending on how long you charge, the buster will become larger, faster, and stronger, with this being an integral component of his strategy. Buster seems quite simple, but the mileage it provides in zoning wars, combos, block string pressure, etc. gives me nightmares, and you can even use it to cancel buttons. His incoming mix-ups are crazy because of how ambiguous they are. Using Raikosen in tandem with Buster is the stuff of nightmares, and every one of these can easily confirm into a touch of death. It doesn't matter if you're mid-screen or in the corner, as these lightning strikes move him forward enough to cross the opponent from anywhere that he wants. Assuming you land the hit and have Buster ready to go, Zero can show off just how high his combo damage is through repeated special move usage. Cancelling attacks into Buster allows for relaunches, and this makes up a bulk of his extensions. If you're more of a zoner, then you'll want to use a combination of Harangeki and Buster to occupy virtually all horizontal space. Making everything I've discussed so far even stronger is Sogenmu, Zero's install super. This summons a clone of him that repeats your inputs after a 16 frame delay. For the low price of 1 bar of meter, you can double every attack you can think of, including specials. This is precisely why Zero zoning is so infamous, as many fighters struggle to deal with the amount of plasma being sent their way. Sogenmu also allows for solo unblockables too, so even if you survive the onslaught of projectiles, you're only 1 block string away from death. Sogenmu is also the father of lightning loops, the informal term given to Zero's Raikosen combos. The logic behind this is to Touch of Death the first character, mix up the second, Touch of Death them, mix up the third, and then Touch of Death them to win the game. Every time I've been on the receiving end of these combos, I can feel a part of my spirit shriveling up and dying, and it never gets any better. To end combos in a simpler manner, Rekoha is an OTG with noticeable startup, and Genmu Zero is a fast level 3 projectile. It's invincible on startup and results in a hard knockdown, allowing Zero to continue the combo if possible. By the way, I haven't even mentioned X Factor, which makes him even more tyrannical. Extra damage, speed, health regeneration, etc. is not what you want to deal with when fighting Zero, trust me. His only weaknesses are his assists, as they're not the most useful outside of his DP being a great alpha counter and his execution requirements. What we've just gone over is devastatingly powerful, but it takes skill to consistently perform. If you see a Zero player doing all sorts of wild shenanigans, yes, it's annoying to deal with, but it's because they've put the time and effort in to learn it. His dash is also more of a run, and DHCing into Rikoha isn't the most consistent route due to its startup, but if you know what you're doing, these will never impact you. Along with Morrigan, Zero is among the strongest fighters in series history. Even the smallest of strikes are all that's needed to eliminate characters, even without assists. You get the hit, combo your opponent, and win the major. Such is the way of Zero. Now that we've reached the end of the road, I hope you've learned something about a few or even many of these characters. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is by and large my favourite fighting game because of how much freedom is contained within its system mechanics, and I believe the characters we covered exemplify this phenomenon. Whether you're a high IQ MODOK specialist or a glue-sniffing Wolverine like me, there's endless fun contained within their individual toolkits, and it's part of why this 15-year-old fighting game is still doing numbers. If you're interested in playing Marvel 3 but are unsure of how to start, you'll be on the right track by testing some of these characters out and figuring out who resonates with you the most. This is what I did when I began learning the game way back in high school, and all these years later, I'm still playing it religiously. Okay, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you and your time, and I hope you had fun. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.